Hello again, Axel Wilkinson with another HitFilm tutorial. This time we're going to take a quick look at text in HitFilm. The text tool allows you to add text or titles to your projects and creatively edit it and animate changes to the text over time. There are three basic ways to add text in HitFilm, but first of all we need to make sure that we are in a composite shot or layer timeline. So we'll just create a new composite shot from the menu with the default settings there. Now that we're in a layer timeline, the first method of adding text is to click the New Layer button and choose text from the menu. You can see Ctrl-Alt-T as a keyboard shortcut that will perform that same function. When you select that, you can enter a size for the text layer, click OK, and it is added to the project. There, I'm going to zoom out with the mouse wheel, and this blue square defines the edges of our text layer. Now you'll notice that we can't actually enter text into this, and that's because we don't have the text tool selected. And so if you select the text tool, now we have a cursor there you can see, and we can enter our text. The second method for adding text is to use the text tool, and then we can click anywhere in the viewer, and we'll get that same window. We can enter a different size if we want. Click OK, and there we get a new text layer at the size we defined. And the third method, which is the one that I use most often, is also using the text tool. You can just click and drag on the viewer to create a text box of whatever size you require. And then as soon as you let go, the box is created and you have the cursor there ready to type. Now when you've created a text box with the text tool selected, you can see there's one control point down here at the lower right, and that allows you to change the size of the box at any time while editing the text. If we switch back to the selection tool, you can see now we get the regular widget, and we can transform this layer however we need to, reposition it, adjust its rotation. But if we want to edit the actual text contained in the layer, we have to have the text tool selected. Now once you select that, you can see that the edges of all of the text layers are indicated on the viewer, and you can select one simply by clicking inside it, and then you can just enter the text. And as you do that, notice that the text auto wraps as it reaches the edge of the box and creates a new line. Now, in order to change specifics of the text we've entered, we need to use the text panel. So as we make some adjustments here, I'll select just a portion of what's contained in this box, and notice that only the selected characters are affected by the changes we make. So the first property here, of course, is the font. As you open this, the menu will display all of the compatible fonts installed on your system, and when we change the font, notice that only our selected text gets that change applied to it. Next to the font menu is the weight menu. The font we have selected now only has one weight, regular, but some other fonts will have multiple weights installed on your system, and for these you can access those weights through this menu. The next characteristic is the font size, and you can select from various preset sizes there using the triangular arrow. You can also just click and drag on this value to reduce or increase the size of the font. The next property is the line spacing, which controls the size of this gap in between the individual lines of type. So notice as I increase this, we can increase the distance between the individual lines of type. This next property is character spacing, which controls the spacing in between the individual letters or numbers that make up our text. And there's also a menu here of various character spacing presets that you can choose. The next property is the outline size. At 0 pixels there is no outline, but if we choose any size other than 0, you can see that now there's a red outline around the text there. I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see better. And so once again you can increase the width, but there we've had no effect because we don't have anything selected. So let's go back to our text tool. We'll select our text, and then as I adjust this, notice that we're just making that outline heavier. And then of course you could change to different options here in the menu as well. The last two properties here control the color of the text and the color of the outline. So the first one here is the text. You can click on the swatch to choose another preset color or select any color you want from the color picker. Using the pipette tool, you can click and drag to select a color from anywhere on the screen. The controls work the same way for the outline. You can choose a color using the swatch or use the pipette to select a color from elsewhere in your project. And the last controls in the text panel are the paragraph options, which just control how the individual lines in the text layer align with one another. So we can align them to the right. As you see, we can center align them, or we can align them to the left, which is the default. You can also make text 3D, which is done simply by opening this menu and choosing 3D plane. I'll click yes to create a camera so we can see our 3D layer, then zoom out using the mouse wheel. And now if I select our layer and the selection tool, now we can transform that layer in 3 dimensions, and it is part of the 3D space. Now, one of the cool things in HitFilm is even after converting this text layer to 3D, if we choose the text tool, we can still change the type that's contained in that 3D layer. Well, that covers the basics of text in HitFilm, how to create it and edit the content. So I encourage you to experiment with the text a little bit, maybe using text in conjunction with the Set Matte filter found in the keying tools. The Set Matte filter allows you to apply the shape of the text to a different layer. And so you could take a layer that contained video or a texture and cut the shape of the text out of it to create some unique looking text that way. You can also add effects directly to text layers. If you wanted to generate an effect on the text layer, perhaps a color gradient in the text, you could certainly do that. You can simply grab the effect you want, drag it straight to the text layer, and I'll need to make a couple of edits here just so we can see what's going on. Pick some random colors here, and then if I move control points there, you can see we can apply that gradient directly to the text. So thanks for watching this tutorial. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And when you get any cool results in experimenting on your own, make sure to upload those to YouTube and click the link to broadcast to the HitFilm channel so that we can check them out as well. We'd love to see what you do with the software.